Distance education, where students learn in an environment other than the typical brick-and-mortar school building, has been happening for many years. Today, distance education is primarily considered online learning. Having the ability to learn and complete required schoolwork online has many benefits, like flexibility with time, working at your own pace, and the opportunity to complete classwork at home. The Utah Electronic High School, EHS, offers online classes as a way to provide remediation for students who have failed coursework, acceleration for those who need a faster pace than what they can receive at a traditional school, and graduation for anyone who may have prematurely quit attending high school. While these claims sound good, one may wonder, is the quality of online education for high school equal to the traditional setting? Do students actually learn well during high school when working on their own online? Documenting the quality of online learning is important because this type of distance education could be a viable solution for the remediation, acceleration, and graduation issues that every high school contends with. The high school graduation rate at Union High School is only around 77%, so if online learning works, distance education through EHS could be a viable solution for this area. I predict that if we compare the test scores for biology classes at Utah's Electronic High School and Union High School in Roosevelt, students will score equal to or better in the online classes compared to the traditional classroom. The location for this research proposal will be biology classes at Union High School in Roosevelt, Utah, and biology classes taught through Utah's Electronic High School. Biology is typically taught to sophomores, so most participants will be 15 or 16 years old. Each class will be taught by a highly qualified teacher as defined by the Utah State Office of Education. Teaching will reflect the core standards, and every student will have access to the same content. The students enrolled in biology through EHS will receive the intervention of attending class and completing their coursework completely online. The students at the traditional high school will not receive the intervention. At the end of every quarter, a final exam will be given to all students. Each teacher will have access to and administer the same exam through an approved testing center. EHS requires all students to complete final exams through an approved testing center. Since there is an approved testing center at the USU Uinta Basin campus right next to Union High School in Roosevelt, students enrolled at this high school will also take the same exam at an approved testing center. Because EHS has an open enrollment policy and students can sign up and begin coursework on any day of the year, the data collection for this research project will need to extend for an entire school year from August 2015 to August 2016. Data from Union High School will be collected during the last week of each calendar quarter after the students take the end-of-quarter test. No participants in this research project will receive any compensation beyond the final grade for their coursework and credits that will apply to their high school graduation. The research study will follow a post-test only control group format. 25 students will be randomly selected from each school. The students enrolled in EHS will study online and then take the final exam. The students in Union High School will attend their class and then take the final exams. The independent variable is distance education through online instruction. The dependent variables include the biology core standards being taught for the school year by a highly qualified teacher and the knowledge as measured by the final exams. The first step of conducting this research would be getting permission to access and use the data from each of the schools and participants. Next, the biology teachers at each school would need to have access to and agree to the same final exams for each quarter. Arrangements would need to be made for high school students from Union High School to take the end-of-quarter exams at any time during the last week of each quarter of school. Once the tests have been administered and the results tallied, I would contact the teachers and collect the data. The source for the intervention would be Utah's electronic high school. Students throughout the state of Utah are allowed to sign up for classes through EHS. Students can sign up for classes on any day of the year. The classes are rigorous and are monitored by a highly qualified Utah teacher. Each class lasts for about 10 weeks. At the end of each 10-week class, students have to take a cumulative exam at an approved testing center. Most courses that are offered through EHS take more than one class to complete. For example, to complete the requirement for biology, which is a full year class in a traditional school, students need to finish 4 classes. Every class offered through EHS is about 1/4 of a credit hour. These 4 classes match with the 4-quarter schedule that many high schools, including Union High School, use. The data would be analyzed using descriptive statistics. The mean of each test at the end of each quarter would be calculated and reported with the standard deviation in parentheses immediately following the mean. The control group being students at Union High School that are enrolled in biology, and the experimental group being high school students enrolled through EHS, the online high school for Utah. The data for each quarter of the biology course will be graphed on bar graphs that will compare the data from each school side by side. Visually, one should be able to glance at the chart and see the difference in the average score on the end of quarter exams for each school. A threat to the validity of this research would include an inconsistency in experience of the students enrolled through EHS compared to the students at UHS. For some of the students enrolled online, this could be their second or third time taking the course. Their prior experience and knowledge could skew the data to show greater achievement. Students taking biology at Union High School would most likely be taking the course for the first time. Another threat to validity is the difference between teachers. If there's an exceptional teacher at one school and not at the other, this could affect the end results of the research. Instead of the data showing whether or not distance education works, the data could simply show who is the best teacher. Even though only 25 students will be randomly selected from each school, class sizes could also impact the validity of this research because large class sizes can diminish a student's time with the teacher. Various learning styles and preferences could also skew the data. If there are students enrolled online who do better in a face-to-face classroom, the data collected might not represent the difference in the quality of learning available through distance education compared to a traditional classroom, but instead reflect the experience of students in coping with an uncomfortable environment. Attrition rates for EHS, which are lower than brick-and-mortar schools, may also affect the validity of this research. Because students can sign up and complete their coursework at the time of their choosing, there may be students who only complete 1, 2, or 3 quarters of the course. There may also be students who don't complete a single quarter. Every effort will be made to accurately record data from students who complete the entire course of biology within the school year. The goal of this study is to prove that the quality of education available to high school students in Utah through EHS is equal to or greater than the quality of education available through a traditional school setting. By using the same content and exams within a high school biology class and ensuring that a highly qualified teacher teaches each class, we can compare the average end results between distance education available through EHS and a regular high school. I believe that the data gathered would support the idea that the quality of education through the online high school is just as good as the traditional setting, and therefore distance education for high school students is a viable option.